special zone. Well, special zone. Carl Lynch was awkward.
Yeah. Sort of the kickoff. There.
Gone by the time.
So, scratching our heads because we're only 15,000. So, the feeling is do 5 studies. And this is the time. Before the end.
First budget is big picture vis-a-vis the region and the state.
Yeah, we just made this settling on feet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I think the North Gateway. West Simsbury is, you know, it's a rural and eclectic, I guess. You know, not much you can do to improve it or whatever. So.
Up, since I haven't heard otherwise. The quorum just showed up.
Boy, they came en masse.
I know.
Put the word out.
You are.
You gotta change your sign. You got your right sign?
Yeah.
You doing?
Good, Mark. How are you?
Good. All right, we're all here. So good morning, everybody. I'd like to call the Economic Development Commission to order. Today's April the 11th, 2013. Did everybody get a copy of the minutes? Have a chance to review them? Any changes, suggestions, updates, anything? If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of March?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Reports. We're going to start with Sarah this morning. Tell us about all the things that are happening at Simsbury Main Street Partnership.
Right now, with the spring and summer coming, we're event-driven right now. There's a lot of events going on. We have our first Discover Simsbury section coming out in the Hartford Current. We do this twice a year. So we have the first one coming out on June 13th. And we, preview, it's an entire section on Simsbury and all the things happening in Simsbury. So that comes out June 13th, which is a Thursday. We will be doing, in conjunction, in partnership with the town again, the postcard. The postcard is a list of all the summer and fall events. It gets mailed to every household in Simsbury. The town partners with us through the First Selectman's office. And so we will be doing that again. That hits every household in Simsbury. Because of the new concerts, we're probably looking at a drop date just before June 22nd. We try to do it before Talcott Mountain, but with the addition of the new concerts, we're looking at probably in household before the 22nd. We will include that information about Harry. We are looking for a market master because we start the Simsbury Farmers Market. We're already in the process of signing up vendors. Last year, I think, was a really fantastic year. The weather cooperated with us. We get several thousand people down to Simsbury Square to patronize George Hall and Tullmeadow and Flanagan and all of the different local farms, local businesses. And it does help the existing businesses in Simsbury Square and in the area as well. So we lost our market master. We're looking for a new one currently, but as I mentioned, we are signing up vendors as we speak. I did talk about the concerts, and I'm sure you guys know, and Ferg is here. We'll be meeting with Tom Vincent to talk about the 2 new concerts. But Main Street is already in our 4th year, I believe, of handling the vending for the, actually, I'm sorry, in the 8th year of handling the vending for the Talcott Mountain Music Festival. We're in year 4 of a 5-year contract to do that on behalf of the town. So we handle the vending on-site, but we also do lodging and picnic packages off-site. When people buy their tickets from the Hartford Symphony Orchestra, there is a link that they put on their website, so then people can take a look at all the picnic packages and that are available both for takeout as well as delivery. Everybody from Metro B's to Peaberry's Cafe. For the July 4th concert, Peaberry's normally sells out, and then kind of everybody in between. Abigail's will run specials. Sometimes Little City, Antonio's. So, you know, depending on wherever you're coming from the mountain, we do offer those specials and packages. The Art Walk is still scheduled for June 22nd, and again, kind of a nice synergy between the Art Walk and then the concert, because we hope to have quite a few people coming into town that haven't visited town. As you may remember, Linda Schofield had done this on behalf of the ABC House. She's still working with Main Street, but Main Street has taken it over because the ABC House just doesn't have the manpower. As I mentioned in our last meeting, we're currently in the process of redoing our work plans for this year. And what we're really looking at doing are several things. We're looking at a focus on an educational component of economic development, and I just met with Chris yesterday. One of the things that Main Street's always had on our to-do list has been reaching out to the realtors. The realtors are and should be our ambassadors. For a lot of people, they're the first face that people see when they're coming into the valley, when they're thinking about Simsbury, and I think Liz as well can attest to it. So what we've really been talking about doing, which we will be doing this year, is engaging the realtors. There's over 500 realtors that deal with properties in Simsbury, and we really want to make sure that they know how to sell Simsbury. You know, Chris and I were talking about, and we've been talking about this on an economic development perspective. When you look at Simsbury versus maybe some of the other valley towns, at first glance it may look like they're similar, but they're really not. And so Simsbury really needs to do a better job positioning ourselves. We have a great branding campaign, but really going through the kind of did you know and focus on different facts that are slanted towards maybe a younger audience, a family-oriented audience, to talk about all of the things that are available in Simsbury, the breadth of which, you know, is astonishing. When you talk about culture, you talk about our heritage and our history, and then you talk about things like recreation, our school systems, the local businesses, that really we are the complete package. So we are going to be trying to plan a realtor event reception sometime in June, and we're trying to lock down the date right now and then lock down the location. We're also in our stage of trying to collect information. Simsbury Main Street is going to be working hopefully with John Peacolt from Watermark Consulting. He's a local guy, but he's fantastic. He's one of the top 10 speakers, and he does customer service and things of that nature. And so what we're really going to be looking to do shortly is we're going to be putting out a survey to some of the larger employees to partner with them to be filtered down to their employees internally, so that we can get some information back, so that we can start to position ourselves and answer questions everything from what are our existing businesses maybe not doing, not providing services that they're overlooking currently. So, business retention questions. What are the niches or what are the things that we need to expand upon? So again, business attractions, new businesses, and then, as we move forward and hopefully get word about the grant that we wrote on behalf of the town for behind Eno, what are the housing opportunities that we're missing? We currently don't have a big housing inventory for seniors who maybe have lived in Simsbury all their life. They, their children have gone through the school systems. They maybe have a house right now that is a little bit too much for them or too big for them, and they want to downsize, but we don't have something for them so that they can still stay in the community. And then the same thing goes for young professionals. You have a lot of people that their families are still here, they've gone to college, they're now sleeping on their parents' couch. I can't tell you how many people have told me, they have a kid, and they'd like to be able to have some sort of housing which would be a little bit lower cost and appeal to them. So we're going to be looking at business retention, attraction, and then some housing questions.
Sarah, who is the promoter of the Harry Connick
Premier
concert?
Concerts?
Yeah.
Premier,
okay.
and the town has worked with them. Tom Vincent has worked with them in the past. I believe Premier brought in Allison Krauss.
Yes.
Because we've worked with them before. I've worked with their people before.
Yeah, there used to be a very big name in concert promotion. I've sort of lost track over the years. So we have dealt with them before.
Yes, absolutely, and they're well known in the industry.
Yeah.
They are.
Now, the other two acts that are coming in that are not part of HSO, are they bringing those in too? I read on the patch yesterday, aside from Connick, there's
Connick, and then there's Emmylou Harris with Rodney Crowell.
Are they all
And
together?
that's one concert.
Okay, got
Harry
it.
Connick Jr. is on June 22nd, and then Emmylou Harris and Rodney are on July 16th. So they're going to bookend the symphony, I believe. July 16th? They're bookending the symphony.
Okay.
Just a suggestion, because graduation is the 24th.
June 24th? Yes.
There's going to be a lot of families in
Okay.
town that weekend, and
Yes.
The PAC board is aware of that. We've raised that with the PAC board as well to promote it.
to promote that and art walk.
Yes.
That's,
That's
putting
quick,
together
frankly.
a package or something to provide the high school parents to give their families to have something to do
Yes.
while they're waiting for graduation to happen.
Yeah, and honestly, we were looking at a bunch of dates in June, and I think we landed on the 22nd because knowing that the 24th would be graduation. I should also mention that the Pinchot Institute for Conservation, who we partnered with to do the PBS documentary, they're holding their board meeting in Simsbury. They go all around the country. They'll be in Simsbury that weekend as well. So it's a really nice synergy of visitors coming in and people coming in. So yes.
Any other questions? Just touching on the subject that you touched on about getting together with the realtors, from a realtor, and Liz being a realtor, when you look at the valley, what kind of adjectives are assigned to the various towns in terms of livability, aside from taxes?
Aside from taxes? Well,
That's not, we all understand that
yeah.
one.
It's an effort.
Well, but taxes play a role into it, because I think, and Liz can speak to this as well, is we find that agents who aren't Simsbury-based agents don't understand all the amenities that Simsbury has to offer and why our taxes may be higher, the quality of life is much different that you're going to find in Avon, Farmington, Canton, West Hartford, and you find a lot of agents who don't show the amenities in Simsbury. They don't know what Simsbury Farms is. They don't know we've got organic farms. They don't know we have farmers markets. They don't know all of this stuff, so they don't sell the town. So when I spoke to Sarah, it was more about educating brokers outside of our community about, specifically people who work with relocation clients as well, of why they should bring their clients here to look at homes, and that when you figure out the difference that you're paying in taxes here versus Avon, and what you get for that tax dollar is far greater here than you do in other communities, and really also highlight the differences in our school systems, because with all the budget cuts that all the school districts, go through, you can't just look at test scores. You have to look at the curriculum that's being offered, and we have some unique features of our school system, like the engineering program, our Chinese program, the culinary program. You can go on and on about things that agents don't know that our schools offer. Full day kindergarten, just a bunch of things. So it was how to highlight all those great things to agents outside of Simsbury to sell them so they can sell the community to their clients.
We want to make them more efficient and more educated ambassadors. And although, the concentration again is and I didn't know this, Chris was saying that there's a ton of people that relocate from West Hartford to
We're seeing a
Simsbury.
lot of, I am seeing a lot of people from West Hartford at open houses, young families, coming here to look to relocate here because they can't afford West Hartford anymore.
And they want
They
yard
can't-
and
They want bigger, they want
yard
land,
and-
they want yards, but they don't exactly know everything that we have to offer. When you start talking to them about, did you know we've got organic farms and we've got a farmer's market and
Performing
the
arts
symphony
center.
summer's here, just you keep going on, and they're like, wow, that's great, because they're just unaware of it.
So this, we hope will be, we're going to have some measures of success. We're going to do this once, and then we hope that it will be successful so that we can continue doing this on a maybe an annual basis. But again, the more tools that we give them to promote and sell Simsbury, the more successful we all are. And that's, and that's what we're looking at.
And will some of that migrate to a website link where people can sort of go
Well,
back?
we're actually looking at doing, as part of, it was kind of two separate conversations. Main Street's always wanted to do this kind of realtor ambassador thing, and then Chris was talking about how we also, you can really easily through Movie Maker or any other program, you can put together a really fun kind of did you know and share information about Simsbury in a fun way. That's, talking about all the things that we do have, and we kind of focused on the fact that we would go with performing arts, highlight performing arts, recreation, the school system, and then the unique characteristics such as the working farms and some of, that we have Rosedale Farms, which is on the Connecticut Wine Trail, things like that. So we would focus on those four things and do YouTube videos, things like that with different photographs and things that, again, people can then use, realtors can use as a toolkit.
Yeah.
I had done something similar to that when I was the co-chair of the Simsbury Technology Committee for the Board of Education. We had
Photos.
put together a 4-minute Did You Know video, and it was about educating parents and taxpayers about how the world has changed because of the internet and where we're going with it and why technology is important to put in the classrooms. And it was a lot of fun facts about, when the World Wide Web started, how many users there are on Facebook, just different fun facts that caught your attention, and pulling that together into a short clip about Simsbury, about, did you know we have, 2 organic farms, 5 ice cream stores, just stuff that younger families might be interested in knowing about the
Public
town.
golf course. So it's just kind of the melding of, I think, different things, and I think it's going to work out really successfully.
Yeah, I think that as long as you have the ability to keep it fresh and changing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, and there's so much did you know that you can't we got to focus on the highlights and then
Right.
constantly evolve and change that.
Okay. Comments, questions? Thank you very much. Liz, are you here for Farmington Valley?
I'm not. I know they had a couple events, but can I just mention we're doing our volunteer expo?
Sure.
In 2 weeks, from Thursday, which we haven't done for a year. And it's just to promote, to get volunteers, new people out to sign up for committees, commissions. We open it up to everybody. We have tables at Eno, and it's a good time to walk around and find out what everybody's about.
Can you ask her to have that ability with that flyer to link it out on Facebook and post it out there?
Sure.
So we
yeah.
can go out on Facebook to like Simsbury moms and stuff like that to get more
Yeah,
people.
absolutely.
I tried doing that and
You
it's
couldn't
not out
find it.
there.
I thought she was supposed to. Shannon was going to do it. Yeah, I'll ask her. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Chris. I didn't realize. Yeah, so, we got a lot. We have the high school also, because some of those kids are looking for extra credit or, something for their resume, whatever. But it's a good chance to just walk.
And so what will the volunteers do? Were they
Well,
just to help out with the?
well, no, the idea is to set up tables and everybody from Fidelco to, DAR to the library to, every
Okay. Yep.
organization that wants to be a part sets up a little table, and then we hope people just come in and talk about what these people do and sign up to try it out, to volunteer, to get some new people in.
And I will
So
say, it's
yeah.
really fantastic. Main Street has done it with the farmer's market, and we didn't just get high school kids, we got a lot of parents that were bringing their 12-year-old kids in, their 10-year-old, 12-year-old kids in, and they wanted them to start this community service at an early age, and so we got a lot of really younger kids that wore the Nelly costume and everything like that, so it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Were you going to do the business expo this year, or are you going to do that next year? We did that last year, wasn't it? In May?
We did it two
years ago?
May. Yes.
Okay.
And then we talked about redoing it, and just with everything going on, it just never got off the ground. And so I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? All right, EDC's website, discussion of front page design and links. I was there not too long ago when we had sort of a meager number of links, and I know, Chris, you had given me a list of a whole bunch of links that you would like to see at least posted there, and I just wanted to know if anybody else thought we should have a more robust looking website or wanted more information on it or the like. Yes.
One of the things the Board of Selectmen passed this last meeting was the formation of a technology committee, and we have a number of tasks that we're going to give to them. But the top priority is going to be looking at our website in general, and they're going to be doing focus groups for people to actually go on. If I want to do this, how could I do it? How would I click? And they're going to have people try it out. So if you do have suggestions, it would be great to forward them. Pam Lacko is the chair. And I know that she would welcome any input you guys have on that, and they will be doing. They are actually looking at the website as a whole, not just EDC, but EDC as well.
Yeah, whatever they did to the website, I think the EDC's website, I don't know, I've been around the others, just really is about as boring as you can get. It's like, put you right to sleep, you'd probably move to Avon right away.
But if you want to put that in writing to me, I would be happy to forward it to the task force. I'll say that. But if you have any written comments, I'd be happy to forward them if you'd like.
Just want to get it out there.
It's out there.
Okay, I will take your comments of a number of months ago of sites that you would like to see. I'll circulate them among EDC commissioners. Feel free to comment on whether you think those links should be added or shouldn't or whatever else, and we'll go from there. And then, how long is the technology group? When are they going to get together, and what sort of?
Well, the first meeting is, I think, May 2nd, that we sent out a notice in the paper asking for anyone who wanted to participate. We got a tremendous response of people with a lot of technology background and who can help with the systems. But with the website, we're going to go even beyond that and go to focus groups, people from the business community, seniors and parents, those who actually use the website. Realtors would be great too, so that we can see sort of what do you use it for. Is it easy for you to use? What are you, well, we know it's not easy to use. But they're going to be, we're actually going to test drive it and get feedback from the community, because we do a website to communicate, and we need to talk to those who we're trying to communicate with to make sure that we're doing it effectively. So it's going to be ongoing, and there'll be lots of opportunities to update it periodically. We do have a new communications person that we hired in the first selectman's office who will be on this committee and help develop the website. And what we have now with the website is we have more capacity than we've ever had in the past, but we haven't figured out the content and ease of use for the community, and that's what we're sort of focusing on now. So the infrastructure is there. How to make it better is what we're focusing on, and what the technology committee will be focusing on. And I know they welcome input, so if you have specific input, definitely.
Good. Okay. Any other comments or questions on the website? All right. Report the status of the consultant for the economic implementation and marketing study.
Good morning. I have
two contracts actually that we have going right now. One is for the marketing study. The group met and selected Fairweather Consulting out of New Paltz, New York. It's actually a group of several small companies that'll do it. Fairweather Consulting is the main group. Talked to Peter Fairweather yesterday. The contract is all set to go. And the first kickoff meeting with that consultant and any of the members of the committee that would like to meet with him is April 18th. And so we're ready to talk about their first step and trying to get meetings together as soon as possible. I think I've let everybody know when we'll have that meeting, so if you can make it, that would be great. If you have comments that you'd like the marketing consultant to cover, anybody on the EDC would be, send our comments in. If you can make the meeting, that's great. If you can't, feel free to, send their comments in to me and let me know. We'll try to get them headed off in the right direction very soon. This is a very short time frame because we need to have it done by the end of June. So they're aware of that time frame. This was originally set up as phase 1 of this study. We're going to try to force as much information into phase 1 as we possibly can. We'll see how far we can get them into doing phase 2 work as part of the phase 1 study. We'll just see, just because of the limitations on the budget. There is a second study, the Village District study, which is probably going to look at least one and probably 2 areas of town. Alan's been very helpful, along with Emil Dahlquist of the DRB, getting that consultant set up. That consultant is Carl Lynch and Sandell out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. Kevin Lynch is probably one of the premier planning consultants in the whole country a few years ago. And Kevin is part of that firm as well, although he'll not be participating in this particular study. The team that's set up is very good. They have engineers, there's architects, as well as some folks that are going to write the actual regulation for the village district. One of the areas we're probably going to focus on is going to be the Weetag area that was focused on during the Route 10 study. We looked at the possibility of changing that whole road system there in the intersection and some regulations there as well. So that kickoff meeting will also be on April 18th. It's going to be a busy day. We'll do one consultant in the morning, one in the afternoon. So if you have any comments about that or would like to know a little bit more about it, feel free to give me a call. We'd be glad to let you know about that as well. The funding for that study is also extremely limited. That also has to be done by the end of June as well. So we've gone back and forth with the consultant because originally I think they thought they were going to get more money and do a lot more work. But we've told them that this is the only amount of money we have. There's no extra money available. So we've had to try to work with the contract and try to get them to do as much as we think is reasonable. Originally we wanted to do 2 or 3 areas. We find that we're probably only going to be able to do 1 or 2 areas. Probably more likely it's going to be 1 area in detail rather than do sort of 2 or 3 in a sort of light fashion. What we expect to end up with out of this particular study is an actual regulation that the Zoning Commission can consider and then hold a public hearing on for creating a village district in that particular area. We'll use that as a model, as a kind of a template for other areas in town as well, creating village districts. But the potential for significant economic development within the village district is what we're looking for. So it's important to this board as well as others as well. So those are the 2 that are going right now. Any questions
on the second one? The one you said may concentrate in the Weetag area. What the intersection 185 and 10, is that the area?
Around the area, north, including Mitchell's, probably up as far as maybe the front end of Powder Forest, right into that area right there. So in that intersection where all those roads kind of come together.
Okay. And going off 185 over the bridge, is there any talk or discussion about what's going to happen at that little intersection there?
The Route 10 study did a fairly, they took a good look at that intersection. There were a lot of discussions about that. Actually, there's a lot of heated back and forth discussion because the consultant came in with a plan that a lot of people didn't like, and they changed it. So the road system is not really going to be part of this particular study, Lou, but the Route 10 study did address that intersection and some of the possible realignments that might be necessary in order to make that intersection, as safe as possible. One of the owners of the property came in during part of that Route 10 study and was very concerned that he hadn't been personally consulted, as to where the road alignment would be, and some of his property might be involved. So the consultant said, fine, if you're not interested in doing that, that's fine. So there was kind of a rollback in terms of what could happen there. There are obviously state roads, so the DOT will be involved as well, but that's not really going to be part of this. This is more of a zoning regulation, village district, economic development type study, rather than transportation.
So what specifically, aside from, I know when they did the Route 10 study, they did some nice things about, fixing up where the bus came when there was a park and that kind of stuff. Is it to make traffic flow better or to have more land available for commercial development, or?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
does it fix up facades, or,
Well-
it is kind of jumbled down there,
Yeah.
which is, that's what
Well,
it
what
is.
the village district study will do will be put the regulation in place that would allow the development somewhat similar to what the Route 10 study showed, but to take that from that sort of conceptual visionary stage into a regulation stage. So let's just say that if any of those businesses decided that they were no longer interested in staying there, that we would try to continually move them toward the types of things that the Route 10 study showed as a plan. But the regulation would be already in place. It should make for better economic development. It should make ultimately for better traffic flow in that area. It should make things easier for people to decide should they want to develop in that area.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see, really. There are a minimum of 3 meetings that they have, one at the beginning of their project, one kind of in the middle, and then there'll be a final public presentation. Any of these meetings are public, by the way, to come to the commissions. It's sort of a joint meeting of probably this group, the zoning commission, design review, as many of the commissions as we can get together on an evening and talk about what the product is before the commission holds a public hearing on it. So we're trying to incorporate as many things into it.
Isn't most of that area residential at this point? There seems to be a lot of homes as you go on.
There's actually a mix, I think, Lou. I mean, you look at Mitchell's and obviously that's...
Yeah, that part, yeah.
But there's certainly some homes on the other side. So it's going to be more of a district. It'll probably focus around the Hop Meadow corridor. Just exactly how far we can get them to spread out is really going to depend on what they can do with the amount of money that we have available. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about on the 18th, is try to stretch them as hard as we can to make them do as much as we can. But we don't want to dilute the study to the point where it's not really useful. We can get we don't need another plan. We've got that. What we need is the regulation that says, here's how you do it and exactly what you can do. We intend to be able to take that, put it right into our regulations as another section and move forward from there.
And they think that you can then take that regulatory structure and apply it or use it as a template for other village districts?
We do, yeah. We think that we can take, we originally wanted to do something in the north end as well, but we're just not, we don't have enough money to do it. We originally thought we would be able to do 2 or 3 areas, but we found out that the level of expertise that's involved in these things really costs more than the money we have allocated for it. So we're trying to do that, stretch it as much as we can.
Hiram, what are the kind of north and south limits of the area that's going to be studied?
Well, we don't know that. That's what we're going to set on the 18th. We're actually going to talk to them about how far we can go. I think we're probably, the north end of the Mitchell's property on that side, and probably across the street to Powder Forest, maybe the first
Powder
2
Forest
lots in that
entrance,
area,
yeah, okay.
back down the other side of the street as well, down to 185 in that area. So trying to figure out just what works and what fits. You come to some point when you start to run into other structures, whether they're residences or whatever, and you say, this really shouldn't change from where it is now. We should leave that to where it is. But 185 and kind of north from there, including Abigail's and all that, and some other structures that are in that area, probably could, not Abigail's itself, by the way, but probably could stand some sort of change or renovation or some sort of revitalization in terms of how people get there and how that whole area functions.
Yeah.
So it's
So
important.
that makes a lot of sense. I won't be able to be there on the 18th. One thought I have, though, is to look beyond 185 a little ways at least, because I imagine at some point, though, there may be a similar study on like the Southern Gateway area. And it seems that there's a chunk between the Southern Gateway and what you just described as the southern edge of Weetag that could be omitted if we don't give some thought to how far south this one goes.
One of the things that we really want to be careful of is not to develop the whole Hop Meadow corridor as a strip. So we really want it to develop as nodes, whether there's a south end, then there's Weetag, and then there's a town center and north end and so on. So we want to be really careful about how we do that. We want to make sure that it just doesn't get developed as one entire commercial strip that has no kind of character. So we want to maintain the character of each of these individual areas. One of the things I'll talk about in a minute is another study that we're going to kick off very soon as well. That'll sort of tie that whole part of that south end together as well. So,
Thank you.
Where do we stand on fundraising for this second part of the marketing study? Are we making any progress in terms of coming up with the additional funds that we need to carry that out?
To be honest with you, I haven't had a spare minute to think about that yet.
Okay.
I want to get the first one kicked off, and that starts to get underway and begins to wrap up. I'm going to start to look at that.
Okay.
There have been a number of other things that have sort of taken precedence recently, and I can talk about the Hartford study that we're going to talk about in a second, and that's really taken a lot of time to get together.
Could you give us an update on the Big Y?
Sure. Big Y is in front of the Department of Transportation, State Traffic Commission, or the Office of State Traffic Administration, as it's called. The last meeting that I was at, I think I mentioned to some of you that there were 3 of us and there were 25 of the DOT folks there. So it's a bit overwhelming. The process is a bit overwhelming.
You outnumbered them.
They're down to the small things, very small things, working with how the traffic light will weave its way between the wires that are currently there, and the southbound access drive into the property as well. So I sent an email just last week to the DOT indicating that we'd really like to see this move forward as quickly as possible, waiting for their response. But we're hopeful. The engineer was very glad to get the email from us, and as was the Big Y. Very glad for our support, and they're glad for our support during the process. Rich Sawitsky and I went to that meeting, and basically the DOT wanted to know, was the town really in favor of this project, and was the application approved by the town, the zoning commission. We talked about that to them, and we had a copy of the approval letters and everything for them, so they're aware of it. They're concerned with, obviously, how that Hot Meadow corridor functions. They're also concerned about the potential impact on the driveway coming in and out of Canes and how that's going to work. So that was a subject of some discussion as well. So hopefully that's very close to resolution. Probably within a week or so that should be finished, and we hope that Big Y will start their construction shortly thereafter.
Good. Are there any other applications that may be coming down the pike that next quarter or so?
There are a number of things that are really going on. One is that you may recall in Dorset Crossing there was an approval for the special needs housing for folks with MS, that 48-unit building. They had applied to the state for certain tax credits that they needed to get, and they were approved for that very recently. And so that construction on that building will start very shortly as well. The other part of that particular project, where there are a number of other apartments in that project as well, and the developer is under contract with the owner of Dorset Crossing, and will be bringing in their sort of schematic plans for that complex, that apartment complex, in the next couple of weeks as well. So that'll move forward.
Were they still talking about 200 apartments or in that thing?
I think the number is going to be less than that. Yeah. I mean, realistically, that might have been an interesting number just to talk about, but I don't think that's realistic for that site. My guess is it's probably going to be somewhere about 150, 160, something like that. The how those units all fit together and how they're integrated into the whole site is going to be very important, and how they look is obviously going to be important as well. So as you may know, and if you've seen that site recently, the CL&P, Northeast Utilities, is doing some significant amount of work improving that substation up there right now. And the interesting back and forth that's taken place between the DOT, again, and Northeast Utilities in the town to try to get the property lines worked out of exactly how they should be, where certain easements are, has been very time-consuming as well. I met again yesterday with the town attorney, and I think we're up to our second or third proposal with the DOT in terms of how to make this all work. Years ago, when that property was first acquired by the town, the DOT had a clause in it that had a reverter in it that said if the property was not going to be used for municipal purposes, it would then revert to the DOT. We came up with a plan to show how the property could be used in part by Dorset Crossing, in part by the municipality, in part by the utility, and DOT didn't like various parts of that. So the town attorney, we've been working with the town attorney to try to work that out. And I think we have now, we're probably up to 3 proposals, hopefully one of which we can get to move forward very quickly on that.
What about the extension of Walcott crossing over and going through the there? Is that part of that plan?
Part of that, it's on the schematic plan, but the owner of that property is obviously Griffin Land. And so we really have no way to sort of require them to come and play. Eventually, I suspect that they're going to realize that that road access is going to benefit them as well. And once they figure that out, and once they're actually ready to develop the property, we think that they'll come in and agree to participate in putting that road together there.
So the town hasn't looked at eminent domain?
I can't say that we have.
Okay.
And even if we had, I couldn't say it publicly anyway, because just don't want to get into that topic. But we're hopeful that they'll just realize it's better for them to do it done on their own, actually. The roundabout that's part of the Dorset Crossing plan is a really good plan. We think that's going to serve that area as well. And ultimately, that'll be part of the road system that will ultimately take people out to County and Hoskins. So we think that's a good plan as well.
Are there any incentives that are being offered to Dorset Crossing, or have they asked for any?
They have
that whole project by the town?
Not by the town, Dave. There's actually, well, I shouldn't say that. The special needs housing, the MS housing, there's an ordinance that the town currently has about assessing the property based upon the income that the property produces. And the developer came in and asked the town, worked with the assessor, and asked the Board of Selectmen to approve assessing that property that way, so it's slightly less than market rate. So the town is participating with that group in that way.
That's only applicable, though, to the MS project aspect, right?
That's right, yeah. Yep. And each of those sections will come in because each of those lots are being developed by different people. The owner of Dorset Crossing is selling lots to various individuals and various groups. And so each of those projects will come in as the plans for them come into more clearer focus. And so when they come in, and the apartment people, for example, are very interested in that exactly. Whether the town wants to begin funding market rate, tax breaks for market rate apartments is really up to the Board of Selectmen and the Business Development Committee.
Are the sewer guys aware of all this stuff?
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Because they were a real impediment to the Janasco project at one point, right?
Well, they had their own issues and their own concerns that they had to deal with. There's no question about that. Some people think that came out just fine. Other people think that there was...
But is that applicable to
Sure.
their rules and regulations?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
There's more things actually that are happening. That's sort of the north end, the summary for the sort of the north end at this point. There's other things that are happening as well. There are a number of properties in the town center that are being looked at. Obviously, the Webster Bank building is under contract with a firm. I don't know too much about the details of that firm yet, but that they're looking carefully at 2 or 3 different options for that property, all of which involve leaving the current building there, at least the old portion of the building that's there. The new portion maybe not so valuable, and that may come down and be replaced with other activities. But that could be a number of different things, and they're looking at what the regulations allow and how much they can get in terms of square footage. They're even looking at the possibility of possibly below grade parking in the back part where the slope goes off to the back. So that could be a very interesting site in the near future as well. There are 2 or 3 other sites that are actually having some meetings this afternoon with people. Don't know the details yet, but there are obviously a number of other significant sites in town that people are looking at very carefully as well. So we're excited about that. In the south end, if you want, I'll go to the Hartford study. The town has talked with the Hartford and give you copies of this. Selectmen on, Monday night, actually heard that we had talked to the Hartford about the possibility of doing a combined or joint land use study on the Hartford property, and they agreed to do that with us. They obviously will be putting, here's a couple more of those if you want. They will be putting that property up for sale. In the near future, and they've agreed to allow the town to do a study on the property. That in itself was nice and was interesting, but when we talked to them about the possibility of funding part of the study, they actually agreed to that as well. The study will cost about $175,000. The town's portion of this study would be $30,000, which the Board of Selectmen put in our budget this year. So that's what will help fund this study. A number of people have asked why we should do this study. The study will actually cover all under 172 acres of the property. Some of you that are familiar with this study know that obviously there's a significant building there, 638,000 square feet, a little bit more, and then 40 acres of prime developable land just to the north of the existing campus as well. So they're in total 172 acres. Currently, they contribute about $1.1 million to the town in taxes just on the real estate, not counting the personal property. And so we want to make sure that when the Hartford does actually depart, that we can hopefully help them, assist them putting something else in that place that will not only fill that void, but as far as I'm concerned, significantly increase that as well. We think that this study will be of value to both the town and the Hartford. We think that it'll increase the number of potential buyers for the site. We think that it'll increase the potential uses for the site, and we'll also gain broad public acceptance. The way we want to do this study is we want to do a charrette, using that as what we did in the center as kind of a template for doing the study. We think that we have a chance to have significant public input into this process. This is a very special type of team that would need to be running this particular study, and so we've put together the request for qualifications already. I've asked members of the Hartford Land Use Study Committee that Mary put together for their comments on that RFQ. It'll probably go out tomorrow morning as soon as they get their comments back. And then we'll begin to get proposals back and start very soon on that. We'd like to have that study done, actually completed by September. Now, those of you that might be familiar with how the last charrette ran, that took about a year to actually plan and get off the ground. So this is getting something done by September is really moving. And the fact that we've done it before, I think, is going to be of great help, because we know what needs to be done, but it's also a tremendous amount of work. So this is going to be one busy summer with the Village District going on, the marketing study going on, and this one going on at the same time. It is going to be incredibly busy. So we think that has a great potential for helping not only the town but the Hartford, and allowing the Hartford to sort of exit the town sort of gracefully. They've been very nice about participating in the study so far. The folks have been very helpful, and they've actually sort of asked us to sit in and talk with some of the realtors who have asked for the listing on that property as well. It'll be very interesting to see what we come up with. We think that the public will really be able to buy into this study because they'll be part of this whole process. It's a very transparent process. We want to make sure that people are familiar with what could go there and at least have a say as to what goes there. It doesn't necessarily mean, just like the other charrette, that every single idea and every single comment will find its way onto that final plan. But what it does mean is that that comment will be heard, will be considered, be worked into the plan, and ultimately the consultant will decide what's the best one or two alternatives for how that should work. Ultimately, what will come out of this is not just another plan, but an actual regulation. We would like to propose doing a code-based, form-based code-type regulation for that property as well. And that could also serve as a model for other areas in the South End, should other people decide they ever want to do the same type of thing. We're looking very actively, this was, as was mentioned in the North End, for large firms like Griffin Land to participate in these things with the town. We have the knowledge and the expertise to run them and to sort of get these things going. And once these large landowners realize that we can be a significant help in getting their plans adopted and sort of looked at more favorably by the public, we think it's a win-win for everybody to do this. So if Griffin Land came to us and said, we'd like you to tell us what could we do with our property, current zoning, forget about the current zoning, what could we do with it? What does the town want to see there? So we've got the town center study, we've got the Route 10 study, we've got the LID stormwater study, all that stuff is in place. So given all that, what can we do with our property? We're hopeful that maybe now that the Hartford has come forward, and it will serve as a really great template for doing this public-private partnership, that maybe some other landowners in the South End might consider doing the same thing. So we think it's a win-win for all of us. So long story short, that's where we are with the Hartford. We're ready to move forward with that as well.
Hiram, this question may be premature, but do you get a sense that the selectmen, the tax can be some give in the taxes to attract the appropriate client or clients for this?
I think it depends. I really think it depends. If it's something that's very desirable that the town wants, that's certainly a possibility. The Business Development Committee would certainly meet and talk about that, should they apply for such a thing. A few months ago, I actually wrote a number of suggestions for revising our tax abatement program. Yeah. And the selectmen will take that up sometime in the near future, I assume. So we're tweaking that plan, and with the Business Development Committee's help, I think the Board of Selectmen could look very favorably. I wouldn't want to speak for them and say they will, but they certainly could look very favorably upon that. My goal actually is to increase the grand list rather than just see it stay stagnant, because I'll tell you, it is tough right now to get things done. I mean, we scrape for every nickel and dime, and there's a tremendous amount of friction between departments in terms of jostling for dollars, and it's hard. And so I think if anybody has the impression that it's easy, it's not. And so trying to get all these things done at the same time with the amount of money we have is difficult. So I would vote for trying to increase the grand list wherever possible. And I think we have to balance the request for tax abatement with that, just to try to make it fair. But we try to obviously want to get very desirable developments in town.
It seems to be just bubbling under the surface, this competition, go here, don't go here. And that is one tool to influence it, obviously.
Yeah, there's a really good paper I gave, I think I gave to the members of the business development community a while ago about sort of a new look at how tax abatements work. And tax abatements are a really interesting concept, but you really need to make sure that they go into things that are going to stay in the town. You don't want to give them for obviously personal property necessarily. Once the abatement runs out, whether it's 3 years or 5 years or 7 years, as the state statutes allow, you need to make sure that whatever you're abating or giving them the break for stays with the town, that they don't just pick it up at the end of 7 years and leave. So we want to be very careful about that.
That's good counsel for the governor, too.
Lou?
Your comment was about what Simsbury as a town can do in terms of making it more attractive financially. But at our government affairs, and Hiram was there, I had mentioned to the government affairs of the chamber that you've got to look beyond what Simsbury can do. And there's an enterprise zone regulation that's out there. And I've seen amendments or people attempt to amend that to allow the more attractive and business-friendly plan financially for enterprise zones, which we are not. However, you can amend, or you can attempt to amend at the state level, amend that enterprise zone regulation to state something that if you lose your highest taxpayer, or you know, if a municipality loses its higher taxpayers, that property could be considered an enterprise zone. Something to that effect, and there's different ways to do it. But if possible, to have those attractions, because we can't give the store away, we don't have that financial ability, but to go to the state and try and get on a level playing field where this property can be matched up with some of those incentives on the state level with other enterprise zones could be a way to do it that helps us. And I think that's something, as an EDC, we should push and promote from our elected. John Hampton was at the meeting as well, but John Hampton, Kevin Wickos, to get that type of amendment going sooner rather than later and see if something like that can work, because that is an attractive regular statute that could help, you know, level that playing field and provide some additional incentives.
That's very good news.
Is infrastructure assistance also in part of this discussion?
The infrastructure program has not been funded, to my understanding, for a few years now. I think that's another win-win situation as far as I'm concerned. You know, folks might look at the money in that program and say, well, we can't really afford to fund that right now. But if we want sewers extended, or if we want sidewalks, or we want curbing, or we want landscaping, or lights, or whatever it happens to be, if you can get those and the developer pays 50% or 60% of it, basically what we're getting is those improvements that are going to stay for 40 or 50% of their normal cost. So I think that's another win-win situation as well, something that the Board of Selectmen may consider a little bit later on. And I've advocated all along for refunding that particular account. I don't think it's been funded this year, but I think
I wonder if we could look at that by project. So let's say if it's the Hartford or something else, that we can look at infrastructure assistance particular to that, and then go back and look at the funding, or whether we just fund it and then it's open to anybody who shows up with an application. Yeah, the program's certainly there. I mean, as far as I know, the program is still there. The account's still there. I think we just need to take a look at that. We certainly will do that in the near future as well.
But that property has pretty decent infrastructure right now. I'm sure there would always be some, but it has everything you need. The sewers going in and roadways and things like that. And that's one of the reasons I mentioned the question before about what's happening with that intersection down at 185, because there's always been, or not always, but there has been discussion in the past of coming out the back end of that property, going right across to that area, which alleviates that intersection that you want to work on. That's why I mentioned it, if that is part of the plan, because in my eyes, there's an infrastructure project that if you can provide another exit coming out the back onto Nod Road, directly across to that rotary in my eyes, and right now all you have is that farmland, maybe a triangular piece of that land right at the, going east of the bridge.
Right.
That would be a nice additional exit closer to going over the mountain, things like that, and that could be one of those infrastructure.
Talking about the rotary or the Folly Farm roundabout?
The carousel. I'll call it the carousel.
We'll definitely take a look at as many of those things as possible. One other thing quickly before I just want to mention a couple other things too. You should know that we've also applied for that recreational trail grant we talked about down on the Baker property a while ago. And that grant is now in. We're very hopeful that that'll go forward. That has a tremendous amount of potential. We're hopeful that the DEP sees it the same way. So that trail around that essentially would go all the way from the existing trail down by the sewage treatment plant all the way through that property out by the river and then back in by the Simscroft property is less than what a 5K run would be. But if we wanted to do a 5K run, which I guess is about 3.1 miles, we could do that with a starting line at one place and then move the finish line down just a little bit further.
You could only incorporate that to a larger study or charrette of that whole area that Lou and I have always said.
Well, what we're doing is we're taking what we call baby steps that are a little less controversial initially. So we get the framework set up, and then we see where we go from there. We're hopeful that the study that we submitted, I think the whole project was about $189,000. It's an 80-20 grant, so I think we applied for about $159,000. Some of that work we would do well with our in-house with our own folks. That makes up our 20% of in-kind services. So we're very hopeful that they'll fund that as well. We're still waiting, as far as I know, on the other grant that we submitted on the Main Street Initiative grant for the deck, the parking deck.
OPM for the Main Street Investment Fund, and also the NEA grant, the National Endowment for the Arts grant, to do the planning of the ancillary building on back of the stage.
I had a question again, just going back to that Hartford and that request for qualifications. Is the goal of that consultant that comes in to help the Hartford and the town determine what could go in that area? Because in looking at that request for qualification, talked a lot about developing a form-based regulation, but can we develop a form-based regulation before we know what the market would like to put, what the market wants to put in that area? Is it another corporate headquarters? Is it a completely different design of smaller, business park, or something completely mixed use? Mm-hmm. That's the. I don't know how this qualifications fits in with where we're going to end up.
Yeah, the way this is worded, if you read between the lines, Lou, is that what the consultant has to do is have the charrette as part of this process to develop that plan. Once that plan is developed, just like we did downtown, then take that plan and then put the regulation together.
So the plan is what could be there in the end.
That's right.
Okay, so that's what I wanted. That has to come first before. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
currently zoned as industrial. It's I-1, which is basically big office parks, which is not going to happen. We're hopeful. I mean, one thing that's very important to us is that we would like to see this building not disappear. And so maybe a rehabilitation of the building, maybe a refitting of the building, of parts of the building, maybe addition to parts of it, or taking down parts of it and not other parts of it. So there are all kinds of options there. One of the things that I've been very excited about for a couple of years now is the concept called an innovation district. That we need the sort of something that was form the basis or the core of an innovation district. That is something where people could come, they could live there, they could work there, whatever the situation was. But any kind of innovative technologies. UConn is very proud of the tech park that they have going there now. And I looked at that plan, and it's an interesting plan. But I asked two questions of the folks that did that. I said, number one, how much did this study cost? Because I bet it's well north of $500,000. And secondly, what's the zoning? Which I'm sure they don't have to worry about at all. So we have both of those things. We have cost constraints and we have zoning to try to work with as well. So this study will put in place what's possible there, what can happen there, and gain broad general public acceptance as well. I'm very convinced of that. So I think that'll be very helpful. Not that, 100% of the people are going to love what we come up with, but certainly if it's 95% of the people, I think we'll be way ahead of the game. So we're very excited about it. It's going to be very fast-moving. We'll get the resumes back by the end, or qualifications back by the end of April, and then start interviewing people shortly thereafter. So it's going to be a busy summer.
And Lou will be representing EDC on that particular commission, so he'll be our point. And
Lou made some good observations and suggestions at this political session we went to at the chamber. One of the concerns I expressed is what's in writing with the Hartford on this whole relationship. And the reason for that is not to be negative necessarily, because the Hartford is stepping forward, but just to understand we got more studies going on here than we got action, that's for sure. So we don't want to be doing something that is going to be in conflict with some of these other things that are going to evolve. So it seems to me that with the Hartford, we should have a memorandum of understanding, or whatever the lawyers call it, that circumscribes what this whole relationship is going to be for this government, public sector relationship. Now, nobody spoke to it, but from what Mary said, there's nothing in writing on this at this point that I'm aware of. She said it was conceptual with the Board of Selectmen in terms of the $30,000 that they allegedly approved to make that relationship. But, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't like a lot of the loyalties. But in this case, I think it's very important that there be something in writing on that relationship.
Yeah, I would.
Amen. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel good about how far we've gotten so far, and we'll certainly work through this and make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. So, exciting time, lots going on.
Any other questions? Yes.
About the Druid Farm, where that stands, potentially like a public hearing on it, or where are we?
I'm probably not the right person to ask on that, Liz. I think that Tom Roy and the Board of Selectmen probably know awful lot more about it than I know. That they've taken a tour of the place to find out how to get it sort of cleaned up and cleaned out.
I can speak to what we've authorized so far. Okay. We did authorize an amount of money to clean up the property. The property, we did a tour of it last week, and it's a mess. And
what are we talking about?
Dewey Farm. And so they're going to go in and clean up the property and evaluate whether there are hazardous materials on the site, because it's a farm. And so that's the phase that's been approved for right now. And so whether it comes back to us in some other form has not been determined, but right now we're in the cleanup phase.
Fire district guys will help you. They could have a nice torch burned down there. The whole problem goes away.
Oh, well.
Have we hired a contractor to clean it up?
They did.
Okay.
I don't know.
I did see a dumpster there yesterday.
Yeah,
so.
they're going to start. And the scope of this is just to clean up the non-hazardous materials. And so if they find hazardous materials, there'll be a second phase.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Thank you very much. Old business, new business, any issues? Yes. Bert.
3 quick EDC items. One is that for the big boy concerts that have been announced, and the 2 others are PAC is looking for volunteers. 2 kinds. You get free admission. They want ticket takers, ushers, because when you start buying all your tickets on Friday night when they go on sale, it'll have a seat number. We need people to set up seats, put numbers on seats. Park cars, we have 200 reserved parking spaces, $10 a space when you get your ticket, and we need people to direct them. We also we have 16 tips trained people, but we want to get more, and we're going to probably do a session on June 22nd. It's good for 3 years if you want to serve beer and wine. Secondly, the Ye Old Bridge of Flowers is having a Burgers on the Bridge, beer and wine, on June 12th, rain date the 13th, fundraiser to keep it beautiful. And thirdly, American Airlines announced yesterday to direct Bradley to LAX starting in August. So you can fly to LAX instead of going to doggone Texas or Chicago and be stuck there because the little planes don't work. So that's very big for our area.
That's big. That is very big.
Some of you volunteers, you want bartenders? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
You gotta get tips.
But you have to be tips trained, and it's a 3-hour session that we're gonna probably do on June 22nd.
He's certified.
You're gonna know how to
It's an alcohol
stop.
certification class.
Pen
How to
Davis.
pour a beer.
Beer and wine.
I've been pouring for a long time, I'll tell you.
We don't,
We're in.
it's
We're in.
very good the way it's, the first concert, Harry Connick is not doing an intermission, so it gives us a chance, so there won't be like, if you have 3,000 to 5,000 people, they're probably not gonna,
Rush.
Emmy Lou, we will have an intermission, so we have to really be ready for that one, but the first one, it's, the way it's going, it's good, so. So anyway, but Tom's looking for people, you can sign up on the website, there'll be training, and so tell your friends, a great husband and wife thing, you get free admission, it's a great couples opportunity.
How many
Or
volunteer-
boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever you want.
How many-
You know?
Mistress?
Bring them both, because it's free.
See a stampede.
How many volunteers are they looking for?
We need for each concert about 40,
Okay.
so,
There you have it.
thank you.
Okay, anything else? Old business, new business? Okay, do we have a motion for adjournment?
Are you looking for one?
So moved. So second, all in favor? Thank you.
No, that's why we need a bunch of people. Pick your,
So you can pick.
you know, we need
I haven't done this
bodies
in
for,
ages.
I mean, September Fest, whatever.
Yeah, I know. Smaller